We'll be back from the break, and many thanks for keeping it smart. 24 TV, we've got a minute to the top of the hour, and we're here to give you more updates regarding business. But how do we do that at this particular time? We quickly kickstart off with giving you some new ideas in your business life with the business tip of the day. Topic: business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming, and of course, this tip is ideally telling you that these are opportunities being like buses. There are certain things that you need to know that if a bus stop has got 3 buses that will be operating on a day, one will pick you up at 8, the other will be coming in at 11, the other will be coming in at 2. That's the same timetable that happens tomorrow. So business opportunities. So if you are not likely to meet one today, one may hit you tomorrow. Or if at all you don't create one today, how about if you can create it tomorrow? So that's what the tip is saying. These are opportunities which are like buses. There's always another one coming. But the only challenge is how prepared are you for that one? Because as a bus, you either have to get a ticket, be there on time, or else it will as well leave you. So that is the business tip of this particular morning. Now let's get some motivation still from our business quote this morning. Okay, now the business quote says, luck is a matter of preparations, meeting opportunity, coming from Seneca. Luck is a matter of preparation, meeting opportunity. Luck, a matter of preparation, meeting opportunity. Seneca highlights that one there, that luck is a matter of preparation that is meeting opportunity. So if you are prepared enough, you are likely to meet an opportunity, and the opportunity always finds those who are ready to at least tap into it. So put yourself in a position where once the opportunity strikes, you'll be able to utilize it. And that is it for the business quote 2. Now we're heading to social media trends, and pretty much the social media trends today are looking at ending corruption, putting an end to corruption. This particular one is basically something that we're supposed to be doing, me, you. So it starts with all of us. It does not only take us to government offices, but it's something that entirely drives us to discussions that are generally around not only government offices, but in the private sector. So huge with the public sector though. But then how do we put an end to corruption? And the timeline had different opinions from different users, and this is how it all went down. So happy New Year 2023 at Nwamanya Isaac says corruption is unnecessary evil that we should all avoid as a mass. If you corrupt the people to reap from your waste can eventually turn out to be your own children, the grandchildren, and others in your line. Time always catches up the corrupt, so desist from it and expose the corrupt. So the hashtag is expose the corrupt, and at Nwamanya Isaac with that submission. And Uganda Patriot at the Ugandan underscore Patriot with the hashtag expose the corrupt government officials, expose them, or CDK. To report corruption, call toll-free number 0800 202 500. Then Oduti Johnny at Oduti John 23 says State House anti-corrupt unit at anti-graft SH is much committed to arrest all the corrupt officials, either in public or the private sector. So stay honest to avoid being the victim. Hashtag expose the corrupt. expose the corrupt. Omulembe Omuhosi, hashtag MK2026. Charles Kulo says, corruption affects mostly the poor like me. That's the reason I have to fight corruption without fear or favor. Hashtag corruption is winnable. Hashtag expose the corrupt. At Antigraft SH, at IGG Uganda, at Trustline_UG, at Ankopani UG, at Corrupt Free UG, at Abaye Zeraba, at Ruhamia Ngoma. That is what Omulembe Omuhosi at Charles Kulo had to tweet. At Uncle Assurance, at 96 Assurance says, hashtag corruption interrupts economic development and likely affects the welfare of citizens in any society. Now, expose the corrupt to get rid of corruption. Hashtag expose the corrupt. Hashtag, well, corruption is winnable. That is according to what Uncle Assurance at 96 Assurance said or tweeted in that particular concern regarding corruption cases within the country. Now, lastly, Katwile Moli at Katwile Moli says corruption threatens our security, drives organized crime, corrodes our economy, rushes opportunities for development, and traps people in cycles of inequality and poverty. Hashtag expose the corrupt at antigraft_ASH. So that is it for the social media trends. Expose the corrupt. The toll-free numbers are available. We know what to do. You know, corruption does stuck with us. The bribery that comes upon and trying to, go away, walk away from crime, paying for it, make matters worse. And now we're heading to the business update, which is ideally rotating around Uganda's tourism sector. Well, the tourism sector in the last 2 years has been shaped around domestic tourism. This is because once the restrictions of travel were imposed globally during the COVID-19 lockdown, most of the countries closed their doorways for international travelers. Now, that same time is when the domestic tourists had to think about travel. The travel operators within the country or the different tour operators, tour guides, and of course tour companies had to think out of the box to entice the local tourists into getting into this particular tourism sector. And you know what happened is exactly what is actually shaping up the tourism sector now. It is picking up, not so fast in Uganda, but however showing positive signs, because tourism is now rotating around domestic tourists. And of course, others are trying to merge entertainment with tourism to lure the Ugandans into exploring the Pearl of Africa. And when you look at the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry, there's underfunding. According to them, they believe underfunding is a challenge to implement and support the sector. Then most of them are still saying, well, with the government's policy of Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, it should be the same slogan that Ugandans should use to at least understand that with tourism, we have to support our own tourist sites. So that way, it would be better for us to tap into those sectors. But of course, there are lots of other key shortcomings within the sector that we need to clearly have and more. So in this particular update, we understand more about the role of the Committee on Tourism and Trade, the role of the Committee of Tourism, Trade and Industry.
Our mandate is to legislate, do oversight and budget on behalf of Parliament. So we look at the budgets, we appropriate where we think is necessary. We do oversight on where we put this money and how these ministries are operating. And we legislate, we pass laws and policies that guide these ministries in doing their work. Well, so far as a committee in the 11th Parliament, we have passed the Museum and Monuments Bill. This is to protect our sites under tourism. We have also started handling the competition bill. We want to regulate the competition in this country. We have seen big players pushing out small players. in different sectors. We have seen wholesalers becoming retailers and manufacturers at the same time. So we want to regulate the competition. We also bring a consumer protection bill to protect the consumers from false advertising, from consuming harmful goods, from consuming substandard goods. Even, for example, load shedding for a very long time. You will have violated the rights of a consumer, blocking a road for a long time. You would have violated the rights of a consumer. So we are looking at laws to protect the consumers in the business sector. Well, in our oversight, we have discovered that government has very good intentions and programs, and it has invested where necessary. For example, the Soroti Food Factory was supposed to help the people in eastern Uganda sell their fruits, and so many other investments government has engaged in, but the main challenge we have seen is political interference in these projects. But otherwise, the intentions of government are very good and for the interest of Ugandans in the different regions. You look at Atiak in northern Uganda, the reasons it was set up from the onset were very good, and we believe it can still achieve these targets. However, there is that political interference that is always going to hinder the progress of these investments. When it comes to Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, government has really tried, but the challenge we have is quality. I think UNBS needs to step up, but also UNBS is poorly facilitated. For example, we have one lab in the whole country, here in Kampala. If they are checking your goods at the border, they must bring them to Kampala, which means you would spend over 6 days waiting for the results. And it is why we got people companies to help us. We're now subcontracting other companies to help us do the inspection. But when it comes to Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, people fear purchasing goods manufactured here because they are not sure of the quality. Okay. So we need the UNBS, Uganda Bureau of Standards, to help us and enforce the quality and make sure people are producing the quality goods. The funding gaps are everywhere. There is no ministry that does not have funding gaps, but also the ceilings are set by the Ministry of Finance. So at times the government has different priorities. For example, our priority now has been the parish development model. So it depends on the government's priorities at that time. Right now, the major focus is on the parish development model, so other ministries are bound to have budget cuts. The collapse of so many businesses now and even in the future is largely contributed by the high cost of starting, not running, but starting a business in Uganda. The cost of credit is very high. You get a loan at about 24%. The electricity has been very high. Infrastructure development, the cost of constructing. But with the coming of the industrial parks, we hope this can change. But the cost of starting a business starting a business in Uganda is still very high, which could be one of the challenges we are facing. Our plan is to see how to revive the sector. We know that COVID-19 hit us very hard, especially the business and tourism. So our plan as a committee is to look for resources during the budget process to revive the sector, and aggressively, because we are aware that the inflation is now in double digits. We're now in about 11% plus. We are aware that debt to GDP was 52, it could be now 61%, because we have borrowed more loans during this period. And this could be also an indicator that we may not be in a position to pay our debt as a country. Not now, and probably not in the near future. So our target as a parliamentary committee is to recommend on the floor of Parliament solutions to the current situation.
On Twitter, the hashtag is visit Uganda, hashtag explore Uganda from the perspective of tourism. Then also, if you want to discuss more of the business, hashtag driving business, and you can have your view on Uganda's tourism in there. Now, tourism sector in Uganda, following the fact that besides looking at trade in general, because the committee only does not center for only on tourism, but also looks at trade and industry. But from my view of the tourism industry, you get to realize that having been listed among the top global tourist destinations, this was a pickup for Uganda's tourism, and ideally something to be very grateful for. And that is why most of the people who are actually coming into Uganda will definitely look at it as a tourist destination that is worth their money. And when you look at some of the key, if I'm to just break down a little bit, with the CNN article, which is titled "The Best Destinations to Visit," they did highlight that Uganda's expansive shores of Lake Victoria, the snowy Rwenzori Mountains, and healthy wildlife are some of the reasons why someone would definitely choose to travel to the Pearl of Africa. And Uganda is posing with a beautiful wide wilderness playground with advanced opportunities in adventure, including treks through the windy impenetrable forest or up to the craters of Virunga volcano, chain of white rafting along the Victoria Nile, according to what CNN has apparently come out to reveal. Now, when you look at this particular recognition by the international channels, you get to realize that traveling continues to at least spark development within the country. I did mention before we called in for the update that if you're to look at how the local tourists have been able to pick up in COVID, amidst the time when we had no kind of situations expecting more foreign tourists would bring in a foreign currency, most of the local tourism companies started picking up. People started registering these companies with the Uganda Tourism Board. Others started setting up entertainment ventures. I've been able to at least be part of some of these particular tour companies, whereby most of them attach silent disco to the tour bus, to at least everyone who's moving within the tour site will be listening to music. Now, this is mashing up entertainment with music. This is mainly to target the youth. Back in the time when you look at tourism was mainly centered as a study tour, back in primary or even geographical tours which were related to field work. So students pay for a trip or a tour mainly for academic purposes and education purposes. Now, as we're trying to evolve, as people are growing older, you get to realize that sometimes tourism can be a sense of adventure or add up to entertainment, or at least a sigh of relief you as an individual. As we continue to at least, try to trek through 2023, tourism should at least be part of it. Traveling, make travel one of your biggest advantages for you as an individual. So, according to the executive director of the Uganda Wildlife Authority, they did appreciate the international recognition, saying that more clients will be able to check into the country, and not saying that we have very few who are not checking in. Well, there are quite a number who are already checking into the country, but they do believe that it would be better that this time around Ugandans should be preparing themselves. So the Uganda Tourism Board, the Chief Executive Director, who is Ms. Lynn Ajarova, says that the news reinforces the fact that the country is gifted beyond measure. And it's calling upon both Ugandans and international guests to explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, with various game parks. And not only that, also looking at the various tour sites within Western Uganda, look at those in Eastern Uganda. There are those other features within the northern part of the country. So all those are some of the things that can ideally work upon. But also looking at domestic tourism, I think this would be starting with us as the local Ugandans to pick up the tourism sector, to ideally also be excited about touring our country. We can spend the money that we spend by taking trips out of the country to explore those countries, by first of all kickstarting off that journey within Uganda. Because if you want to explore a different country, you should start with your own here. At the end of the day, you would wish it would be better if you started out with your motherland one day or the other. Such beautiful scenery as you can see now, that is the Makshon Falls in northern Uganda. So these are some of the sceneries, the beautiful sceneries that you can attach to. There are quite a number of tour companies that are basically rotating around local tourism in Uganda. Those who are youth-oriented tourism companies. Then there are those who are actually basically looking at ensuring that everybody within the tourism sector can clearly have their say within Uganda's tourism sector. But of course, how we position ourselves in here from the business community, most of the tourists who come in, for example, the foreign tourists, are most interested in the arts and crafts, because they do take this as souvenir back to their own countries. So that's why you will find out that in most of these countries, or in most of these tour sites within Uganda, you'll find those engaging in the arts and crafts business. Not only that, but you will also get to as well see that there are other businesses that can rotate around. For example, routes leading to these tour sites. People who are dealing in beverages, simple snacks and all that, and some good money. Those who actually have eateries leading to those destination journeys. For example, those who pass through, that is the Kampala Masaka Highway, heading to the ends of Mbarara, heading to the western part of Uganda. Now, those who are actually using the Mityana route, heading to those ends of Port Poto, Hoima Road, and all that. So this is a time when we are looking at Uganda's tourism sector as an ideal travel destination for anyone who wishes to at least refresh during weekends. You're on a leave, you're in Kenya currently, and you're looking for a place where you can at least unwind fresh memories, try to rebuild again, try to establish a new movement for yourself. Well, there is a mountain that you can definitely choose to at least go and trek, Rwenzori, the third highest when it comes to the East African situation at the end of the day. Quite a number of beautiful scenery within the country. The game parks endowed with lots of wild animals that you can definitely go in there and see for yourself. We have to look at that. So, and looking at the same situation, the country is home to more than 400 sought after mountain gorillas, the big African elephants, lions, leopards, African buffaloes, and rhinoceros. And of course, Uganda has 165 lakes on which tourists can take sunrise and sunset cruises, as well as sport fishing and canoe rides. 506 central forest reserves of rich biodiversity, in which one can take therapeutic nature walks, birding, butterfly, and chimpanzee exhibitions on the end of it all. So, as a travel destination country that we will be looking at in Uganda, we can as well kickstart off and be part of the same kind of situation, we as Ugandans. So the sector is steadily pushing up, and of course there are other business opportunities that may arise from there. Besides the Margarita Peak, we can as well try to consider the other situation, which includes setting up of lodges around these particular tour sites, setting up of hotels around the same areas. All these can ideally earn money for the private sector, and as well in turn generate some income for the government and contributing greatly to the gross domestic product. But the main emphasis is saying that the sector of tourism will be recovering. The hospitality sector onto that as well, attached to the same sector, will be recovering. So that is it for that particular scenario of Uganda's tourism. Now, with only 9 minutes after the Zabo markets have been opened, it has already 23 past 8 in the morning. The markets opened at 8:15 a.m. It's quickly time for you to invest in government bonds. How do you do that? Use the USD code *292# and of course follow the prompts, and in that way you will be ushered into the Zabo platform, which gives you an advantage to invest in bonds with only a minimum of 15,000 Uganda shillings. There are quite other products that you can definitely choose to invest in, and you will be able to get it ready for you as you kickstart off your journey of investment. Zabo is a platform by Altex East Africa which says do something new. Zabo, my money, my future. The opening time for the markets on the Zabo platforms is 8:15 a.m. and the closing time is 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. These markets are only closed during the weekends and on public holidays. So you can as well pick up from the same situation by following Zabo. Zabo, my money, my future. Keep it smart means business. We are returning with more discussions regarding business, taxation, sports business, and more.